Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video, I want to talk to you a little bit about micro-cheating and the anxious preoccupied attachment style. So we're going to talk about how the anxious preoccupied receives micro-cheating and how it affects them. And then we're going to talk about, why this person may actually fall into the place of micro-cheating and like enacting micro-cheating to begin with. So if you're not already familiar, I do have a long form video about micro-cheating, but basically it's the act of cultivating in small ways inappropriate intimate connections outside of your relationship. And this is according to Alicia Munoz, and it was my favorite definition that I found on this. So is it cheating is like the question people will ask. And it really depends on like both the person who's on the receiving end of it, how they receive it, and also the person and the reasoning for what's taking place, right? It exists along a continuum, just like most things. And if somebody's in a position where they are constantly like telling somebody else that they have romantic feelings for them, they love them, all these sorts of things, of course, that falls into maybe more like macro cheating than micro cheating. But, we can have extremes, and we can have things where there's just like an inappropriate relationship that you have maybe with a coworker, and it's like super, super flirtatious all the time. And there's some sort of like feelings and infatuation that's clearly there while you're in a relationship somewhere else. Like things like that can obviously be in that like continuum. Now, what I find and what's so interesting is that it tends to affect different attachment styles in different ways. Often micro-cheating DAs or more avoidant leaning people will feel as like a little bit more harmless. Fearful avoidance who have the big trust wounds can take micro-cheating to heart, and inappropriate text message can really land in a painful way, for example. And APs can sort of go either way depending on what this current state of their relationship is like. So in some cases, they may assume that, oh, my partner is doing this to make me feel jealous, and it's intentional. It's because they're trying to get my attention, because we tend to project from our perception. And that's often what's happening from an AP's perspective. So there's two major reasons, first and foremost, that APs tend to be in a micro-cheating situation to begin with. The first one that I see most commonly is that an anxious, preoccupied individual is not getting their needs met in their romantic relationship. And our subconscious mind is like a needs meeting machine. And because anxious, preoccupied individuals tend to have such high subconscious personality needs around romantic relationships, emotional connection, approval, and because they tend to seek a lot of their sense of significance and fulfillment through romantic interactions, and they tend to derive a lot of their self-worth through how well their relationships are going around them, who they're in relationships with, how much love and attention and affection they're getting, then sometimes we'll see APs, when they're not feeling fulfilled in a relationship, actually start cultivating intimate connections outside of their relationship in different forms. And they'll often feel really badly about this later on, but they won't usually turn around and like necessarily cross a line. Of course, anybody in any sort of attachment style situation may, and all different types of attachment styles cheat for different reasons. Not all attachment styles are full of people who are always cheating. Just different attachment styles have people who may cheat or may not cheat. But those tend to be the major reasons for the anxious preoccupied individual originally. So it can be driven by that sort of dynamic where they're just like seeking that like fulfillment and connection from all these different places. And when it's not feeling met in a primary relationship, their subconscious mind starts to really seek it out outside of the romantic relationship. Another major reason that this happens is micro-cheating can take place for the AP because they're trying to get their partner's attention. They're trying to make them feel jealous. And so they're doing this as a subconscious strategy to try to get a reaction out of their partner, to see if that reaction can then validate that the partner still cares or still has interest. Now, like this, just like with anything else, micro-cheating absolutely has a tough impact on relationships in general, especially as it relates to trust. And if you find yourself struggling with trust at all, or struggling with jealousy in relationships as it relates to this topic, you can check out our Overcoming Jealousy and Repairing Broken Trust course for free for 7 days. And there's a link in the description box below. When you enter it, you can go into the All Access Membership Pass, type in Repairing Trust, and you'll see out of all the different courses that it's there. We have also 44 plus other courses in there on all different things from attachment style reprogramming to boundaries to communication courses. And we do 4 live webinars a week in there with our community that you can check out. And we do 1 or 2 social events per day on top of that. So just like-minded people, like morning and evening routines and just different things you can take part in. So anyways, you can check that all out. But what happens when the anxious preoccupied individual is on the receiving end of micro cheating? Well, what I often find is that it can be really devastating for an anxious preoccupied. It won't usually be something that propels them into like leaving a relationship or setting really firm boundaries around. But often what happens is anxious preoccupieds then feel driven into trying to overcompensate. They often will be like, well, why is this person feeling the need to cross the line towards cheating, and it must mean that I'm not good enough in some form, so I better be better and more available, more loving. And it will often activate those activating strategies of the anxious preoccupied where they may feel more needy or clingy, and it can really affect the AP. Hence why an AP may micro cheat as a strategy to get a reaction from somebody else, because obviously it cultivates such a strong reaction within them. And so, it can be a really, really tough thing. And it's a really important thing to discuss if you're an anxious preoccupied, and to set boundaries around and to say, look, this is appropriate, this is inappropriate. Sometimes people do micro cheating things because they don't even realize that it's inappropriate, and they're just sort of pulled in a certain direction. And that's why transparency and communication and setting boundaries can be such an important start of resolving this problem, because it gets somebody into the situation where they suddenly see how their actions are affecting you. You have a conversation, and then you can actually decide what's healthy for the relationship or not. So ideally, you want to have conversations, set boundaries, and have like things that both parties agree upon. And it can be really helpful as well to say like, hey, this may not affect you in the same way, but for me, this is my reality. This is my experience. This is how I'm feeling. And to really lead somebody into empathizing with you and seeing your perspective, because sometimes people will not necessarily see where it's coming from if you have totally different attachment styles like AP and DA. So really important to have those discussions. And if you find yourself being the micro cheater in a relationship, then it's really important to understand why you're doing it, look for the root cause, and try to find strategies and solutions to resolve that in your monogamous relationship that you're in, assuming that that's the relationship dynamic that you are in. And, if you're in that position, it's important to look for, well, what are my unmet needs that I'm seeking from somebody outside of the relationship, and how can I communicate about those needs and get them met more in a relationship? An example of this could be maybe somebody's giving you attention and they're making you feel special. And maybe you've been in a relationship for a long time, you weren't getting that need met in the relationship, and you didn't realize that your subconscious was craving it until suddenly it showed up in you having this slightly inappropriate relationship with somebody else. And so it's just really important to pull that in and to communicate those needs to your romantic relationship partner. And it's a way of getting out of the situation long-term and having a more fulfilling relationship as well. It doesn't mean don't have like nice interactions and appreciate those things. It means if that's leading you to behave in a way where your behaviors are becoming inappropriate, then that might be something to look at and to sort of dive into a little bit more. So I hope this all makes a lot of sense. Again, you can check out the school for free for 7 days. You can do the Repairing Broken Trust course and Overcoming Jealousy. You can do attachment style reprogramming courses in there. You can check out the 4 live weekly webinars I do with the students, or check out the different social events and study groups also. So thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.